So any questions for this group? Because you have here a couple of the world's leading experts in this area. So if you shout it out, I'll repeat the question. Go ahead. What happens when AI becomes conscious? Okay. Any of you want to tackle that? Because I will tackle it if you don't.
I just want to add to something that Neil already mentioned, which is that we have a much more immediate issue, which is the human issue rather than computer issue. The number of jobs that are going to be lost because of AI is huge. I think the 47% that Neil mentioned is a massive underestimate. I think the vast majority of jobs will be gone. There won't be jobs to fill them in. And unless, as Neil said, unless we have something like a basic income, we're actually going to have the kind of social problems hit us that will make us wish that we had sentient computers to save us from ourselves. So I'm not so worried about the sentient computers. I'm more worried about the sentient humans who we're going to displace and we need to be thinking about.
Okay, Neil.
Yeah, I often say that machine intelligence doesn't keep me up late at night. It's human stupidity that keeps me up late at night. And I think that we really are going to have the wealth to take care of each other and to do it in style, to do it with quite a high quality of life. But that means that we're going to have to change our paradigm for how we distribute wealth. It can't just be mediated through jobs. On the other hand, I still think it's very important for people to educate themselves and their children. I think the need for critical thinking is not going to go away anytime soon, or for creativity. And I think we still need to push hard on those fronts.
Okay. I was hoping the lady and the baby would not leave because I could make a great political distinction of how you think about this. But the best discussion around this I've actually heard from Neil. Somebody said, what happens when AIs become sentient and take over the world? His answer was, look, you think about, you're worried about an AI kind of getting more and more sophistication, having access to the world's data, starting to become conscious, making its own decisions, and then going and doing its own thing. And the answer was, yeah, that's what we're worried about. And he said, we have a precedent for that. We call them children. Right? And we raise kids in the same way. We've just developed behavioral social norms to develop and navigate that. We may well do the same with AIs. We also have a big problem with kind of definition. We don't know what sentience is, and we don't have a test for it, right? A subset of that is self-awareness, and we attribute self-awareness. You look like you're self-aware, so I attribute that to you. I think I'm self-aware, but my wife disagrees. So like you can't even start the discussion with that. Okay, other questions?
I will own up, that was actually my baby, and I guess she decided that the Steve Jefferson talk was more interesting.
Even better,
so
that was a deep learning algorithm in action. Yes, sir. Has anybody applied deep learning to legislation?
There's a whole series of organizations, Govy and various others, OpenGov, that are attempting to apply AI methods to government. I think they're truly at the beginning stages of this, but I think it's a promising area.
Okay. Yes, sir. So your question is, for the rest of you, are you seeing the emergence of a next generation, maybe the application in subdomains?
Yeah, so what we're seeing is that deep learning is expanding to cover more and more. So I don't think there'll be a next generation in terms of something qualitatively different, because we now have this system that can match any function and do it at scale. What has been happening is a reduction in the amount of data necessary. A couple of months ago, actually, there was a peer-reviewed article that came out showing the ability to apply deep learning type principles to single data items. So it works much more like a human works by seeing something just once and being able to build features. We're also seeing much better approaches to what's called transfer learning, which again is kind of human-like. It's where we take models that have been built for one thing, like recognizing images, and use the basic ideas and concepts there to then apply that to something else, then build on top of that. These are a couple of areas which are growing rapidly and allowing us to apply deep learning in a world where most of the data is not labeled. That is to say, most of the things are, they're kind of videos or audios or whatever, and to be able to learn from that unlabeled data is something that's very rapidly progressing.
Mm-hmm. You can look up the Atari game player doing transfer learning in an article that came out in January of 2016 from the University of Toronto, where it could transfer skills from a badminton game to, say, ping pong.
Okay. Can machine learning create new paradigms?
I think it depends on your operational definition of paradigms. I think it's already created a new platform for people to be productive and it's altered the way that we do work. And in a sense, that's a different paradigm. But I don't think it's sort of a creative leap like you saw from Einstein, for example.
Okay, how far are we from AGI?
Well, I think that...
AGI stands for Artificial General Intelligence, by the way.
Yeah.
So.
I think that it really, again, depends on your operational definition. People are constantly playing the line drawing game with this. But I think that we will see, as we're in the mid-2020s and 2030s, when we hit 2030, I think we could expect to see AIs at human levels and beyond. And we already have seen AIs beyond human levels in specialized tasks. So by the time we see the broad, deep, and subtle intelligence that we associate with human intelligence, it will probably be a while from now.
I mean, I think it's a pretty distracting question, though. You know, I know Neil and I don't really go for it that much. And the reason is that the question is, what can you use the technology for? So if it can recognize pictures, if it can understand speech, if it can do all the things a human needs to do to do tasks, then, you know, why do we care about the philosophical question of is it really intelligent? It's already there right now in terms of what it can do, and it's learning exponentially to do more.
And aren't we just biological AIs? I mean, really? Okay, one more question at the back. Higher education, okay?
Yeah, there's really been quite a bit of work done by the Science of Learning Center in Pittsburgh, and by Carnegie Learning, and by Coursera, Udacity, and others. I think that the key is getting away from just streaming video and getting towards one-on-one learning where the AI is actually modeling the mistakes that people make, say, in applying the chain rule in calculus, and they can apply a repair that's specific to that student and help that student learn.
There's actually an amazing book by Neil Stephenson, it's a few decades old now, called The Diamond Age, and the character in that has something called the Young Ladies Illustrated Primer, which is an AI-based learning platform that is like their personal teacher. And if you want to get a sense of the future of education, read The Diamond Age, because it's amazing.
It's a guiding star for a lot of people in education. We haven't built one yet, but it's definitely a goal to shoot at.
I hope my daughter will have access to something like that.
Okay, two more quick questions. Large-scale business disruption because of AI.
Ask Yahoo what happened when Google started using machine learning for search.
Yeah.
It's happening.
I think it's happening now.
Yeah,
and
we're going to
you'll certainly see it increasing over the next 5 years, not the next 10 or 20.
Note that every single one of the current crop of LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, etc., heavily AI data-driven companies disrupting existing businesses. One last question. How do you use AI to relocate people to losing jobs?
We actually have a Singularity University project from the summer that just was announced a couple days ago called Udexter, which is all about using psychometrics and AI to make recommendations to people for new jobs that meet their skill set and give them a better shot at having a competitive job in the future.
Okay, last question. Yes, ma'am.
Will also AI learn to have emotions and to be empathic?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's likely. It's likely because we care about that. And because we care about that, we will learn how to build AIs that do have empathy and interact with us in emotionally appropriate ways.
Although there'll be plenty of people who say it's just pretending, and there will be no way to tell whether it's just pretending or not.
Yeah. Note that emotions are just subroutines in our brains anyway, right? So it's the same thing. All right, with that phenomenal close, we're going to end it for now. Thank you very much for the panelists. Awesome session.